Thank you all. And for clarification, I'm on the board of Nevada Desert Experience at this point, but I'm not an employee anymore.
Okay.
Our friend Robert Majors has taken my place. I'm very proud of him. Well, I'm very honored to be asked to play this role. I recently came upon something by Thomas Merton, and when he died in 1968, he was a well-known mystic, poet, critic of the Vietnam War, a voice for peace. In 1940, he was a young student in New York City who was afraid of the draft, and he was very much against the war that was already fighting in Europe and Asia, and the United States just ready to join. But he was also very critical of the peace movement of his time, and he said that people were not against the war for the right reasons, not even praying for peace for the right reasons. They were against the war because they were afraid of losing their lives, or just their refrigerators, or their houses, or their cars, their limbs. And if we're ever going to have peace, we're going to have better reasons to be against war than that we could get hurt. And he said it's amazing that the American people don't wake up to the terrible irony that the more we try to avoid unpleasant sensations, the more we try to avoid the horror of war and the pain, the more horror and pain there is going to be, and the more hopelessness to do anything about it. So this brings me, I was thinking what Sean was saying about taking responsibility is, is just so important. There's one time, one drone strike that the President Obama did take responsibility for, and this was one that was in January a year ago, and last April 23rd, he announced, he apologized to the families of Warren Weinstein and Giovanni Laporto, who were killed the 3 months previously in a strike in Pakistan, and these two men, an Italian and an American citizen, were hostages held by the Taliban. And despite hundreds of hours of surveillance, they didn't know that these two men who they were looking for high and low were there. And he said this, as a president and commander-in-chief, I take full responsibility for all our counterterrorism operations, including the one that inadvertently took the lives of Warren and Giovanni. Now, some of us remember President Reagan taking responsibility for the Iran-Contra affair. And we know that usually when a president takes responsibility, it means no one is held accountable and nothing changes. Thousands had been killed without an apology, and even more shamefully, without even acknowledging that they lived or died. The fact that Obama accepts responsibility for only two is too paltry for consideration. And it's an insult to the memory of those two men and to all who've died. In these days of governmental evasions and official cowardice, there are some who take responsibility. And many of them are here at this table and in this room. Okay. Because where there's official governmental cowardice and evasion and alibis, it's critical that some of us will take full responsibility for those killed and act to stop these acts of reckless and provocative violence. So we don't all have the inside information to be whistleblowers. But we do know what we know. And we know more tonight than we did this morning. And that knowledge of what we know is a tremendous responsibility on us to act. We need also, those of us who are activists, need to avoid the temptation to use our activism as an evasion of that responsibility, as an alibi in itself. To say, because I march, because I sit in, because I protest, because I write, because I go to jail, my hands are clean, I'm not responsible. We have to claim that responsibility, and when we go to Creech and places like it, it can't be, and I'm very grateful for your challenge, We cannot be there to blame other people. We can't be there. We go to these places and we act, and we put ourselves in the way to act on our responsibility, to claim and admit our responsibility, not only for the horrors that gone before, but our responsibility to do something positive to build a new future. So we're here in great company. And we have a great responsibility, and we need to love one another and take care of one another as we go forward to try to put an end to this horrible mess that humanity has made of this world. And the future of this planet depends on us taking the responsibility and acting on it. So thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Well done. That was perfect. That was really good. Well, thank you, Brian. I think you put it the right tone on that. We're working hard, but we're not working hard enough because this thing's still going on and we got a long way to go. But we are not giving up. And we're not giving up on this time. We have 10 minutes left, and I wonder how many questions we can get in. I bet we can get in a lot. So what I'd like to do is have 3 questions, and then we'll have responses here, and then we'll go 3 more. So that means that please no orations, but just some questions. So I'll go 1, 2, and 3. Okay, 1.
I know the letter that you read to us is undated. I wonder if those gentlemen ever received a response from anyone of them.
Okay, and well, we'll answer that right now.
Yeah, no.
Okay, no. Thanks.
So the 2 Hollywood movies about drones that have come out, did the panel indicate how realistic they are?
Thank you. And the second one, third one.
What kind of things help support you guys in doing what you do now, and how can the creative community help people that are currently looking for that support?
Thank you. That was how can the community help with the support for everyone here? Okay, on the issue of the movies, comments, please.
Okay, so, hold on. All right, so the 2 movies that you're referring to are probably the Good Kill and then Eye in the Sky. Good Kill, I mean, the one thing that really we noticed first off the bat is the imagery. The imagery is not that sophisticated, but as far as the issues he was going through, I would say that's probably realistic. The problem with that film is it doesn't explore the full breadth of what the program is, because there's imagery analysts, there's signals analysts, there's mix, there's, I mean, the pilot and there's a lot of positions that sensor operators. I was having a brain fart. So, I mean, you have all these positions in the thing, and I think Eye in the Sky did a good job of portraying the different positions, or the different positions people have. They made it seem like it's a lot more accurate than we've experienced. It's probably moving in that direction to where you'll have micro UAVs in the form of insects that can fly into a house and give you a positive ID on the targets. And once we get to that point, we're going to have to start asking more questions. These compartmentalized positions that are throughout the program, they're going to go away one by one through artificial intelligence. I mean, that's something we're talking about in the next 10 years. So I think we need to start advancing this debate before we get to that point, and really look at, there is a campaign to stop killer robots. I advise everybody to check it out. There's a lot of good resources there. A lot of academics who are really trying to focus on this problem. We definitely need lawyers and just everybody giving their input on this thing. I guess the other issue with the realism of this film is, all right, this was based in Kenya. Like the film was based on a strike on Al Shabaab in Kenya. It's a country that we're at peace with. It is an area where the British historically have had relationships with, so that's probably why the British are leading the operation. It's a very special case with, like, there's a smoking gun that the guy's got a suicide vest and he's about to, like, go blow up a market, and that's not a typical scenario that one would have or whatnot. I mean, I'm sure there are scenarios like that, but I'm taking way too much time on this.
No, you're not.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not at all.
Can you grab this
Well, I think we'll
recorder?
go see these. Okay, how about from...
Can I just add
Yes,
one
please.
little thing to what Sean said? On Good Kill, I bet very few of you have seen it. Even though it stars Ethan Hawke and January Jones, who are two A-list actors in big films, I saw it in a tiny little venue in San Diego. It never made it into the big theaters. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe it was too threatening to the power structure. But I want to just say one other thing that nobody's mentioned, and that is LARS, Lethal Automated Robot Systems, where there's no human involvement at all. The computer itself decides who, when, and where to target. That's the wave of the future, and people in the UN are very freaked out about that. Then you don't even have the problem of drone pilots getting PTSD because there aren't any drone pilots. It's completely automated. Very, very frightening, but that's where it's headed.
Wow. Thank you.
Lethal
Thank you.
Automated Robot Systems, LARS.
And support?
Can I speak into here?
Okay, yes.
No.
The support for folks.
This one? Yeah, that works. I can't watch, that's too close. I can't watch the movies. I can't watch any of these movies personally, so I can't comment on that. It's just too powerful and strange at the same time, and I would just get too angry, so I don't do that. One thing I could say is, I think Shelby, you were talking earlier about, or it may have been the guy in your interview. He was talking about, so if we're in a car and that car stops in front of a laundromat or something, and the guy gets out and goes in, gets his laundry, which is hot, and comes back into the car, does that laundromat become a target? And the answer is yes, in general. Or anyone who he interacted with, for the most part, that we have been observing.
Wow.
So yes.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's displayed, how that's portrayed in the movie, but.
That's chilling. And would someone like to address what type of support would be most helpful for you all?
Oh, I'll address that. Oh wow, that's way too loud. Sorry guys. I'd love to address that. I would really love for everyone to keep their eyes open for all news articles that relate to anything drones, and then to make your friends read them, share them, talk about them. I think social media, as stupid as it is actually extremely powerful. If you see anything related to this, follow Reprieve on Twitter or Facebook. I think that the way to get people to change their minds, the way to fix this is to get all of you to change other people's minds. It won't be, the government will not fix itself. We have to embarrass them. And in order to do so, we need to know what they're doing that's shameful. So, social media, news articles, that's my answer.
Thank you. Okay, everybody that has a question,
There was a third question.
yeah, that was it. How can we support it?
To Obama's letter.
And that was a no. They have not gotten a response at all. Thank you. Okay, everybody that's got a question, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you'll ask the questions, then it's 9 o'clock, so we may not get the answers to them depending on how our very generous law school folks are about this room. So please bear with us, and then we have some of the panelists that are staying at the Santa Fe Resort and Casino, and I don't know how long they're going to be up, but maybe if you want to drop by there, you might see them. So if you'll make your okay, Nick?
Yeah, I just would like to say that Reprieve, Whisper, Veterans for Peace needs money to carry this work forward. And we must take the responsibility to raise money from our own pockets, from our churches, our unions, and our friends to enable this work to go forward. It is expensive to challenge the U.S. government and protect people who have the courage to do that. And the least we can do is come up with money and encourage our friends, neighbors, relatives to do their part, because that's part of the responsibility for carrying forward with this struggle.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, and I will mention that we still are short a little bit of money to really adequately cover all of the expenses we've had for bringing our folks here, and they are not staying at the, what's the biggest?
Bellagio.
The Bellagio. No, they're out with us at the Santa Fe Casino. So we still need, if anybody cares to donate, we do have an online donation. We'll be glad if you've got a 20 or whatever you want to throw in, we'll be glad to take it here. Here's a hat right here. Okay. Now let's just ask quick questions, and then we will probably get to answer them outside, because I think we don't want to overstay our thing. I'm going to ask on three women next. Okay, women with the hands up. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
I am interested in how we can support you personally, the people who have spoken out, the people who have been punished for doing that, and how can we build some kind of a thing to
Okay. How can we support them personally through the trials and tribulations that they've gone through as whistleblowers? Thank you. Okay, Eleanor.
I just wondered from the whistleblowers if there's some messaging you think would be really appropriate for a protest at Creech and other Air Force bases. What would you recommend to us?
What would our panelists recommend that we use when we are out at Creech to the messaging to positively affect the people that are there? Other questions? Back there.
Yeah, my question was to echo Eleanor. What should we not be doing? We got a hint from Sean that some things don't create an invitation for people to move out of,
Yes, what should we not be doing? Thank you. Cynthia.
Is there any interest in the Air Force and the military that you're aware of in a kind of a safe place to come and talk about stuff like a coffee house or something like that? During the Vietnam War, coffee houses.
Are there any safe places like coffee houses where active duty people can come and talk? Yes, sir?
Will the film of this evening be made available or posted? Are we made aware of that?
Will the film be posted? Yes, it is. Our videographer will be finishing up with it. We will have it posted in a variety of places. And we do have an archive, I think, probably from live streaming that's been going on tonight. Thank you. Okay, let me ask how many minutes we can. Well, I'm asking one of you all go ahead and start talking about messaging and those sorts of things.
Okay, so wait, is this on? No. All right. So in terms of support for us individually, I have a feeling that we're going to have a shitstorm coming upon us in the future. So really supporting Whisper is probably one of the most helpful things you can do, because that is our legal defense. And then, I mean, as far as me as an individual, if you want to keep giving me speaking events, finding out how I can, me and Chris can go around and talk, that would be helpful as well. I think that's about it, because I don't want to profit from this at all. And the messaging, I could definitely get back to you on a few things, like when I could think, but generally anything that is meant to be sort of inflammatory in a way that is like calling people baby killers, or like having babies, like baby dolls covered in red paint and hanging that in front of you know, the bases. These are things that I've heard about. I don't think those things are particularly useful. You know, yelling at the people and venting your frustration, again, it really just alienates them further. I think trying to reach out to them, like through, like, say, a laundromat, you can put up stuff to help them make a choice on getting out and figuring out where they can go. You know, finding places where they go and then putting up messaging there. I think that's very helpful. Also, in the protests, trying to communicate like single messages on what you really are trying to communicate to them, so that that's really all they read when they go up. Like, I've heard ideas about you know, having different words at different points, so you know, they're kind of forced to read it. I think that's pretty helpful. And I don't know what keeps on doing with this. But yeah, safe places like coffee houses, you know, build it and they will come. That's all, basically.
Great, thank you. Yeah,
All right.
great. Well, those are great suggestions for us to keep in mind of how we don't turn people off, but have them think about the messages that we want them to internalize. And Jess, do you want to talk about the?
Sure, I'm realizing I wrote everything too small, but is this even on? I don't know. Basically, we are down to like the last $2,000 in our account. I've been paying myself 10 days a month and working 80 hours a week. I represent all of my clients pro bono. Most of them cannot afford an attorney because they've been bankrupted by defending themselves against the government and or just trying to provide for their own needs. If you go to whisper.networkforgood.com, you can make a donation, and any donation is deeply appreciated. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow Sean on Twitter. And through me, that'll hook you up with a number of other whistleblowers from both the NSA and the drone program, and some other programs I can't talk about openly here. But those are ways you can, again, supporting the lawyers. We're supporting them, and often we are a lifeline, I think, for them. And so, again, we can also, you know, can help you make direct donations to them if that's something you want to do too.
Well, thank you very much.
Sure.
And it is up to us to help out, because these are brave and courageous people. I want to thank everyone from the bottom of our heart. Nick has worked so hard with it to put everything together. On behalf of all the panelists, we want to thank you all for your interest, your concern, your responsibility, your accountability, your transparency of what you believe in, and how we want to make our nation a much better nation by stopping these endless wars and killing people around the world. Now, before we leave, though,